Hey guys, how are you? Hope you're doing well. Tonight I'm going to be doing a review of a drama slash thriller from the US, English language, released in the year 2008, directed by Trygve Alastair Dearson and Lucky McKee, and this film is called Red. The Scandinavian release is Redemption, I don't know why, but the more widely known title is Red. So the story to Red stars Brian Cox as the main character. He plays Avery Ludlow. Avery Ludlow has had a lot of tragedy in the past, and which I'm not going to go into, but now the only companion he has is his dog Red, who he loves very much. He's had him for 14 years. So one day, Avery and Red, they go to the lake to do a bit of fishing, and this is where they're approached by three teenagers. Now, these teenagers end up producing a shotgun, and they hold Avery at gunpoint and demand his money. When they realize that he doesn't have much money, they get angry, and they end up killing Red. They shoot him. So this angers Avery, and he wants someone to be held accountable for it. So he tracks down this kid's father, played by Tom Sizemore, and he wants Tom Sizemore's character to discipline him. But Tom Sizemore's character basically tells Avery, look, my son says he didn't do it, and I believe him, so there's nothing I can do. I'm sorry about your dog, but I won't be punishing anyone because he didn't do it. So basically dodging responsibility. So Avery doesn't take this, and he decides to go to the authorities. So the authorities can't do much except slap him on the wrist with an animal cruelty suit. So this is still not good enough for Avery, so therefore he takes the law into his own hands, and then things spiral way out of control. So that's all I'm going to give you on the synopsis. If you want to know more, please go out there and see this film for yourself. Now, my thoughts on Red. This is a Jack Ketchum adaptation. Now, if you're not familiar with Jack Ketchum, he is a very, very good author who provides stories that bring out the worst in humanity. Now, a lot of people choose to turn a blind eye to the worst, yes, the darker side of humanity, and they turn a blind eye to it, and they don't want to know that it exists. But it does exist. It's always around the corner, and I think Jack Ketchum produces this in such a vivid way. So all of his adaptations so far have been very good. The Girl Next Door, The Woman, and The Lost are films that I am familiar with. Yeah, Red was one I wasn't familiar with. So I was really excited to see it, based on the fact that it is one of his stories. And if you're familiar with the tone of Jack Ketchum, very dark, morbid tone, very depressing, and as I said, brings out the worst in humanity, then you'll know exactly what to expect with Red. I will say that Red is much more emotional than his other works, because it brings out such a realistic portrayal of the bond between a man and his dog. Now, if you're like me and you get a connection with dogs, I have a dog right now that is everything to me. She cheers me up, and it's just so much more than an animal. And some people will regard my dog as just a stupid animal, and don't get too connected with it because it doesn't mean anything. It's just an object. But for those of you who are like me, who can connect to a dog, you know how special that connection is, and it's so much more than just an animal. It's a family member. I have had a dog in the past also that passed away, and it took me a long time to get over it. And some people were confused at that because they thought, why you get so upset over an animal? But that's the thing. It's so much more than just an animal. And so many movies try to capture that bond, but they fail to do so. Now, another movie that does capture the bond is Marley and Me. I thought that was a very good portrayal at how much a dog means to some families. And then this movie does it also. I thought the connection between Avery and Red was just really nice, beautiful. And then when all of a sudden it's ripped away, you feel really bad. And you feel that these kids who do this are those types of people who think, it's just an object, stupid dog, you'll get over it, and don't really consider how another person would feel. So it kind of feels like they're almost psychopathic, but they don't get punished for it because it's just a dog. So the authorities wouldn't do anything about it in the movie because they still treat it as just a dog, not as valuable as a human life. And I would go as far as say that a family dog is just as valuable as the next person in a family, because you have that connection. It's a living thing, and I know a lot of people say animals are living things, which is true, but the dog, if you have it, you have to have had a dog, I guess, to really understand the feeling. And that's what got to me so much in this movie, is the fact that the bond between man and his dog was so real. I could connect with it so well, and when it's taken away, you feel really, really bad for Avery. And then the other people who were oblivious to this type of feeling really got me angry in the film. But then I stopped to wonder, well, these kids who did this horrible thing were a victim themselves of bad parenting. And so we're not really that different from a dog, if you know what I mean. The way you raise a dog is the way it becomes. And it's exactly like a human being. And that's why I say the connection between dog and human isn't so different, because they have a lot of similarities with the human being, if you know what I mean. As I said, if you're brought up badly, you're going to be a bad person. Whereas, a dog, if you bring a dog up badly, it's going to be bad. So I thought the connection between man and dog was very, very strong in this film. So it's also a film about the social differences in the classes. So you've got working class and you've got upper class. The upper class, money is absolutely everything. Tom Sizemore's character was evil. He was oblivious to all feeling. He was disconnected from reality because he was so self-absorbed with his own cash that no one else mattered. And that's very true, because I know people who are rich and who don't care about other people and don't even see other human beings as worth the time and effort. That if they're upset, it's not your problem, because, as I said, you get so absorbed in your own little world that that's what happens. You just disconnect yourself from everybody else. And that's what Tom Sizemore's character does. And he's very abusive, and it is a symbol of tragedy in the fact that money got to him. Money completely took over him, and he's basically lost his soul to it. So Avery is the working class. He was from much more humble beginnings. He had tragedy in his life, and then you kind of ask yourself, well, why does Avery get so much bad luck in his life, but Tom Sizemore's character gets all the luck? And that is true, but in a way it's a blessing, because the things that happen to Avery make them the person that he is. And I felt such a connection and such sympathy with Avery because of that. He has so much bad luck, but yet he's such a really good guy. And when these bad things happen, you want justice for him. But then when he doesn't get the justice, and even the authorities are just seeing it as, something that isn't such a big deal, you want to see him take matters into his own hands. But the thing that really makes it even more unique was the fact that when he goes into his vigilante sort of stage, he doesn't turn into a Charles Bronson. He doesn't lose his mind. He doesn't go on a killing rampage. He still doesn't want to do what he's doing, but he does it because all he wants is an apology. But no one is willing to accept responsibility. And it is also a movie about accepting responsibility and about how being a man is so much more than just being able to fight, being able to threaten people. It's about accepting responsibility, and that's a quality that is forgotten in a lot of men these days. So it's a multi-layered film, but what got me the most, as I said, is the bond between man and dog. When he goes into his vigilante sort of stages, it is very realistically done. He doesn't want to do what he does, but he feels that he has to do it in the name of Red, and to kind of make people understand that Red was so much more than just an object. And when things spiral out of control, it's just a complete tragedy, because the whole event could have been prevented if responsibility was taken. That was all that was required, responsibility. But it wasn't, and then therefore matters go way out of hand, and it just turns into a tragedy. So I love the fact that Avery wasn't a sympathetic character. You do get a lot of sympathy for him because of what he's been through, but it's not melodramatic. It doesn't cue the melodramatic music where you go, oh, poor guy. Or if he starts crying, you think, oh, poor guy. It's not that kind of film. It's a movie where you'll make up your own interpretation. If you think it's a sad film, if you can connect with what he's going through, yeah, it is a very emotional film. But if you're one of these people who only see a dog for an object, then you won't get any emotion out of it, because it's the type of film that different people will get something out of it in a different sort of way. And for me, I thought it was one of the hardest films I've watched in a long time. I thought it was absolutely depressing, but in a very good way, because films like this are not made often enough, and it does pay respect to that of a dog. The ending was very rewarding. I thought it was really well done. It shows the vulnerabilities in the law as well, which I thought was very eye-opening. So it's a movie with a lot of layers, and if you're expecting a film that's going to make you think, and that it's going to make you look at your pets in a very different way, then this movie is definitely one to check out. I mean, I really enjoyed this. I was expecting to enjoy it, and I got exactly what I wanted. So overall, I'm going to give it 4 stars, and it's a movie that I feel a lot of people have to go out there and see, because this movie is not given the credit that it deserves. So that's my review for Red, otherwise known as Redemption. I hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later. Bye.